Hi friends, Chandrasekhar here again, and this time we will be talking about Libra, Tula Rashi. This Rashi has different names, and one of which is Vanik, means the trader. Another is Tauli, one who uses the balance. Taul means balance, that we use to measure weight of different things. It also means Juke. Juke also means again the Libra Rashi. It is one of the names of Libra, Tula Rashi, the term. So there are different names. And if you remember, I said that almost all the Rashis are represented by some form of animals, including the human animal. And many people must have thought at that time that I am saying this is fine, but what about Tula? It represents only a balance. No, if you read the names and understand what they are telling you about is one who measures, that is a trader, is also one of its name, and trader is a human being. So you have to understand that. And now we know that Venus is its lord. It is strong in the day. We have seen from 5, 6, 7, 8, 3 and 11 are strong in the daytime, and its color is black. It rises by its head. We have seen the Shirshodaya Rashi and other. I will try to give a small diagram at the end of the lecture indicating the natures of different Rashis, their colors, and whatever is possible in a short tabular form for you to learn about. And then it rules the west direction. It is the 7th Rashi. You can understand in the natural zodiac it will be in the 7th Bhava. 7th Bhava does represent west, so it represents west. Then where does it reside? So most of the classics talk about it residing on land, as is expected of a trader, but Jatak Parijat is of the opinion that it resides in markets which deals in expensive goods, expensive wares, so to call. Then it is said to like roaming about. That is another part that Jataka, by which I agree with it, ultimately represents the 7th Bhava in the natural zodiac, and we know that 7th Bhava also is connected with short travels, so you can consider it as roaming. It is said to be of medium structure. In my opinion, it can be either short or tall, or it can be sometimes bulky and sometimes very lean, and sometimes very small. And the reason may be to do with the form that the Taula or the Tula, the balance is of all sizes. So perhaps they are indicating something there. I told you about the iconography and iconology of signs, which can give you an idea of what is happening. Then its caste is said to be Shudra, the worker, the menial worker, and then it represents Basti of Kalapurusha. Basti is the upper part of, when you draw a line from the navel to the sexual organs or to anus. Let us be more clear about it and not be very delicate in expressing what is truth. And so you draw a straight line and cut it in half. The upper half is called Basti, and the lower half goes to the 8th Bhava. We have already seen that in the lecture on Bhavas, but just to remind you. Then, though it is said to be land-bound Rasi, Rudra Bhatta, the commentator of great of Braj Jatak written by the great Varamir, is of the opinion that it rules over water. It is a watery sign. If you ask me, my opinion is it has both. It has both the element of land and water. Water because its lord happens to be Shukra, Venus, which is a watery planet, and land because most of the trade was in land, but yes, trade was also on water. And here the idea is trade. You have also seen in my lecture on the 7th Bhava that 7th Bhava also represents business. So whatever is variable is represented by the 7th Bhava. This is the 7th Rashi in the natural zodiac, and it also is capable of it. It doesn't mean that everybody with Tula Lagna, that is the Libra sign rising, would be a trader, not necessarily. So that will depend on the planetary aspects on those bhavas. It is a biped Rashi. Naturally, if trader, if he is human, he has to be biped. It is spread from the third part, the third quarter of Chitra, then the entire 4 quarters of Swati Nakshatra, and 3 quarters of Vishakha. This is the span over which this Rashi is spread. Those are the 30 degrees over which Tula is spread. Now, having said that, what is a different perspective about this Rashi? This is all given in the standard text. You can read it. Maybe you may not know what is the opinion of Rudra, but or my additional opinion about it, ruling both land and water. I would think it might like water. It might like to be near water. That is a possibility. But the general understanding about Tula Rashi is that it is a very stable and steady Rashi. Now what we see here is, it is a Chara Rashi. 1, 4, 7, 10 are Chara Rashis. You know Chara Rashi is always variable. It is always active. Rather, you may not call variable. It likes to be in action all the while. So not very steady, 1. And then if somebody has seen a balance, the old style balance, not the electronic balance of these, even they have the same tendency anyway. That if you hold a balance and just touch it on one side, and then you will see it will be disturbed for a long time, and then it will come to the normal level. Isn't it? That is the part of the makeup of Libra people, generally with Libra rising, because that ascendant, can I say, it influences the entire personality of the person, the Jataka, the one born. So with Libra rising, you will see they are always in motion. They will shift from one subject to other, even while talking. Maybe talking about one thing and suddenly shift to other, which is part of Chara. They will always be a bit fidgety when they are sitting for a long time with you, and they get easily disturbed. Now this is something which many a times astrologers might miss because of the sign and thinking that balance is always absolutely steady. No balance remains steady. I mean, those of you who have used the electronic balance or whatever, you will see it doesn't go steady right from the moment you put something, it is steady. No, it doesn't. It will vary a bit and then stabilize. It does stabilize after some time. So these people are easily disturbed. You will see that when Lagna is the Tula Rashi, that is Libra, the 10th Bhava will always be Cancer, which is ruled by Moon. So they might want to shift from one work to other, and these are the general tendencies. It is not necessary that everybody will be like that, but in majority of the cases, if they are in business, they would like to change business. If they are in job, they might not be satisfied with the same job for a long time, might want to change it. And this changeable behavior is part of that. Getting easily disturbed and upset is also part of Tula Rashi. Unlike what is generally thought, people think that they are absolutely steady, like a balance. Balance is never steady. Use the balance, especially the old type one, the one which is the sign of Libra. It is the old type that one. The two balances at the end of a rod with something in between to make it hold like this. You put anything, it will go on, moving for some time. So what they are trying to tell, even from the name of the Rashi, they means the sages, is the tendency, the way that person might behave. I am saying might because sometimes planet like Jupiter aspecting it might change it to some extent, but not to a great extent. That has been my experience. You take your own experience and find out whether I am right or wrong. But I am sure most of you will find that this does happen with Tula Rashi. But I am not, when I talk about Rashi, I would like you to understand I am generally talking about the ascendant. See, because Rashi is mind. Mind can be stable or unstable, but generally mind always is variable thing. That is why its Karaka is moon. So even the sages or the great Rishi Munis, their mind would also be disturbed at some time or other. So please understand that most of the characteristics that I am telling you would be more prominent in case of that Rashi occupying the Lagna rather than that Rashi being the Rashi where moon resides. Wherever, when moon resides in Tula Rashi, it depends where he is placed and what sort of results would be realized from that Rashi. Yeah, variation would be a part of it, but not the entire personality as such. So, because moon likes variation anyway, so you have to understand this. And this is the Tula Rashi. Just because it is called Shudra, don't think that it is, people of Tula Rashi are Shudra. No, perhaps if they work hard, they can realize their goals. Maybe that is the idea behind giving the castes to Rashis. So, as you can see, it is a Rajasa Rashi, the royal Rashi. So it likes, naturally they would like luxurious things. You will, if you look at people's chart, especially those with Tula Libra rising, they would generally like beautiful things or luxurious things. Understand that this is not a blanket statement, because every time, as I never tire of reminding my listeners, everything will be afflicted, or rather affected by the planetary aspects, planetary influences, the strength of the planets, the position of that particular Rashi in the natal chart. But this is a general idea. So Tula Rashi, in Prashna, suppose Tula Rashi is placed in the 7th house, which is the house of thief, in case of theft, then you might think whether that thief is from a menial labor class. So that is how those Rashis are to be used. You will in the earlier lecture I have given the diagram of how Rashis will have different ascensions, and that would be the way one looks at whether they will be large or small, the limb, the body of the person, all of them are to some extent affected by this, not to a large extent. So they would be generally well proportioned. I don't think they would be disproportionate, but remember that they need not always be tall, they can be tall, or at least appear to be tall with respect to their own family. Whenever we call of tall or we call somebody short, remember that is the zero error is to be adjusted according to size of his family, not with anybody else, because certain races are tall by nature, and so within them, within that family, that person will be tall or even equal level or short or whatever. So this also must always be understood. And Rashis are anyway environment, as you know. So Tula Rashi in X place can make that person, that area of his life, more like Tula Rashi, subject to planetary influence. I know that this is a bit complex, but I have never claimed that astrology is a very simple subject. Yeah, it is a logical subject. Use your logic. So Tula Rashi in 5th bhava will give different result than Vrushchik Rashi in 5th bhava, though it would still represents the intellect and the thinking of a person. So having said that, I think, I can go on talking about Rashis for hours, but it doesn't serve any purpose. This is the basic idea of how to look at Rashi. Remember that Tula, unlike what is thought, is not a Rashi of people who don't get disturbed, rather they get disturbed easily. After some time, they will again regain their balance. It is a different issue. And so my friends, as usual, go on giving me your comments. I know that as compared to lectures on Bhava and Grahas, you might not find lectures on Rashis that interesting. But believe me, when all these three are considered together, then only you can come to a certain conclusion about what could be happening with that person. So, as usual, go on telling me where I go wrong, or what you want me to elaborate more about, and I'll try to bring that in to some subsequent lecture. And so thank you once again, and we will meet in the next lecture, which will be on Scorpio Rashi, again an animal. A Kita Rashi, it is generally, when we say Kita Rashi, it refers to always Scorpio Rashi. Why, we will see in the next lecture. And so goodbye, my friends.